Hi, my name is Razman. I'm a business development manager from Kris Infotech. Kris Infotech is a Netsuite partner in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and West Malaysia. We are the only partner capable of deploying the Netsuite ERP and financial solutions. Do check out our website, kris.sg, for more information on our company and our talent solution as well. Today we're going to be looking at the NetSuite financial module. As you can see here, we're looking at three major process. Number one is an overview of the financial module. We were looking at how the NetSuite solution be able to help companies with their general ledger, how we'll be able to add value in terms of their financial processes for the financial controller and the CFO, and how financial reports in particular are being generated to NetSuite. We'll be using a company example, Gill Incorporated. Just a little bit of background. It's a US multinational company for wholesale and retail distributor. They have subsidiaries in Australia and also in the UK. We will look at a single stakeholder in the company, which is the financial controller role. Now, usually the key challenges of a multinational is the large and multi-subsidiary basis. The whole idea is to sustain profitability yet achieve high financial standards. Common challenges in financial management in most companies are still due to most companies using Excel, and the length of the month-end closures are usually dragged because of inaccuracies, due to length of the processes. There's no central repository, and also accessibility and security of the system. Here we can see the standard NetSuite financial module that has been set up for Gill. We're going to play the role of the financial controller, which is James Courtier. Now, if you may notice that the standard features has a few key aspects of the financial controller role, which is the reminder section, for example, the orders to be approved. Now, one of the key features of NetSuite are these navigation portlets. It will be able to show several key functions that be able to access, quick access to features like the revenue reports, profit and loss forms, balance sheet reports, cash flow. If you go up a bit here, we'll be able to set up the financial controller, in this case James, standard KPI as a financial controller. James, in his daily role, will be able to look at reports or top 5 focus customers that requires some attention, in this case AR aging or accounts receivables aging. Now, with a single click and drag and drop, we'll be able to maximize the space available in the browser, and it's easily customized, no customization required. The main key feature of NetSuite, you'll be able to manage multiple subsidiaries. In this case, it's a subsidiary navigator. As you can see, it's just quick access, click, drag and drop, and you'll be able to see the whole entire organizational structure of Gill and its multiple subsidiaries from the US up till other subsidiaries in different countries. With just one click of a button, we'll be able to access information. As you notice in the information, the data is updated with a single click, live. There's no fuss in terms of changing the figures, and it makes James's role a bit flawless and time-saving. We're going to go to one example. We're looking at the AR aging reports. Just one single click, James will be able to access his aging reports from 30, 60 to 90 days, usually a main focus of any financial controller. He'll be able to access as a US just by a single click, selecting consolidated and clicking refresh. the report will be automatically updated in real time. This is the major value or feature in NetSuite. We will consolidate a single report into one, where you can drill down or drill up in terms of the information. Usually people like James as a financial controller will look at AR aging. Here's one example of a company. Just one single click, James will be able to access a drill down information of the company. If he wants to be like to see this in the greater detail, because of the large summary, almost 400,000 US dollars of AR outstanding, which is usually a concern when revenue is not recognized for some time. He'll be able to actually look at a company, in this case B Sharp Music, as a customer, looking at the invoices. If James sees that a payment has not been applied, he can be able to look at several information, who's the sales rep responsible. In this case, he will be sending an email reminder to the customer or send a copy to the sales rep to help him escalate for this payment to be made. Just in case if a payment has been made, he can click, with a single click, he can make a payment right away. And also with a single click, he can bring back into the main particular report. With a single click as well, we'll be able to access functions like such as a graph, as a line graph, and also be able to convert that as a pie chart. Very convenient for someone like James to run a monthly, a quarterly, or even a half-yearly report to his management based just information from the system. And when it's one single click, now James will be coming back to his main dashboard. As a financial controller, James will be want to look at his accounts payables report. Similar to the accounts receivables report, James can go through their navigation portlets or directly to the KPI portlet. For example, if I click at this figure over here, he will be able to see a consolidated report of his accounts, depending on the sales rep, depending on the vendor. Given the features of NetSuite, we'll be able to look at other subsidiaries within the US, in the case of Guild. If I click to the US too and refresh, he'll be able to see just within that particular subsidiary and look at the aging reports of which vendors there are currently outstanding. From there, he could take action. In this case, Guild Canada. Similar to the accounts receivables report, he'll be able to take action. And make payments as well. With one click, he can go back to the main summary. With the features of NetSuite being able to look at a consolidated report, he'll be able to change to another subsidiary just by clicking refresh. And go back to a consolidated report. And take further actions. Similar to the income and also the AR and accounts payables reports, James will be able to run a balance sheet report. Similar to all other reports in NetSuite, it has similar features. Similarly, if James would like to see within the previous year's report, he is able to look at the last fiscal year. Let's put it here. Last fiscal year. Change it to hierarchy. Click refresh. He can easily get the balance sheet reports through these features. Similarly to the other reports, a chart can be created. It can be exported to Excel, PDF, Word documentation, a local printer, and email. Of course, another feature of NetSuite, a report can be scheduled to any particular party, let's say James's manager, at any particular time. There's a message. You can click save and it will run it by itself. As part of the financial controller roles, James will need to run a report, whether it's a monthly basis, a quarterly basis, or a yearly basis. So in NetSuite, how a profit and loss or an income statement is run is through basically using the simple menus. Through the portlets, James can just do a single click and he will be diverted into another windows which can show the income report at HQ level. Given that NetSuite is able to consolidate every single subsidiary for Gil, James will be able to see from the United States perspective just by clicking refresh. You may notice that the figures might change. Or if we look at the period size, and if let's say James wants to look at the last year's total income statement or profit and loss report, he just needs to choose this fiscal year and perhaps change it into FY18, and we can leave it as that. Let's look at the entire HQ and convert everything into a hierarchy. Once you click refresh, he'll be able to see the entire income or profit and loss report based on classes, based on the departments, and also whether it's the type of sales, for example. Now, what James can do later on is to convert this into a pie chart where he can share with his management for reviews in his quarterly or yearly reviews. If he's required to put it into Excel, he can by clicking this button, PDF, Word documentation, printing. He'll be able to send it through email and have it set up. He can customize the message, subject header, and also the recipient email by just entering here. And from there, you can just with one click go back. I'm going to show how James can create a chart of accounts. Now, remember, NetSuite has several navigation portlets that can be open and close. It can be set up as please. So part of this particular setup for Gil, James has his chart of accounts here as a setup. Now, with just one click, James can go in a menu which shows a list of accounts that he has created previously, be it for VAT purchases for separate countries, separate accounts that needs to be created if, let's say, Gil was to expand their businesses, new assets, etc., etc. If we click new, a form will appear, and James will be able to set the number, the name of the account, which type of bank or which type of account is it, be it, as I mentioned earlier, a new AR account for a different subsidiary, a new current asset, a new fixed asset, a credit card account if required. You can choose the relevant currencies. All these are set and included. Now he can use his cash flow rate type here. Usually this is for a CPA. Classify inventory, when's the start date, and he can have some restrictions. It could be restrict to which entity or subsidiary, which type of write-off account, depreciation value, etc. One of the key roles as a financial controller is the closure period. Now in this case, James as a financial controller, with one single click in the financial portal, will be able to see a list of accounting periods that has been completed for the past few years. With just one click, for example, in this case, we'll be able to look at a checklist. In this case, January 2018 hasn't been completed, as long the prerequisites like the accounts receivables, AR, or the accounts payables has been marked as complete. Here, with a simple form setup, James will be able to click whether it has been completed, and click submit, and in order for him to fulfill the requirement for a period closure. Similarly, as long as the log has not been completed, the other prerequisite cannot be done. Another main key feature of NetSuite is that you'll be able to look at not just standard inventory or cost accounting, but we will be able to look at Guild as a multinational or multi-subsidiary company. In this case, if you look at this bottom line item, there could be intercompany adjustments, foreign currency value review, consolidated exchange rate calculations to look at plus minus of the exchange rates, profit or loss, and intercompany elimination transaction. Once all these are complete at a multinational or a multi-subsidiary level, the closure can be completed. As part of his role as a financial controller, James will be able to run a planning and budgeting activity within NetSuite. What can happen is that he just needs to click on this menu, budget, and a new report form will appear. And let's say, for example, James is doing a marketing budget for the US1 subsidiary for the FY19. You can just choose it, marketing, and most marketing departments will use the services of agency. And let's say James would like to allocate a budget of $300 per month. He can just quickly fill it up with this main feature. And if James goes back here, he will be able to see in his report a comparison between the actual and also the budgeted amount, and see whether he has over budgeted or not. And James can do a journal entry in NetSuite by closing and opening up the navigation portlet with just one click. We can just click at that particular point, and James can come up to this particular form that can be easily set up. You can choose the relevant subsidiary and also the relevant accounting type. And now keep in mind, all these forms are completely customizable. In this case, we're going to do an insurance expense for James, simply by incurring this particular data. One click, and all of the information can be stored in NetSuite. I'm just going to write a memo, JE for journal entry, or the longer form as such, for a insurance expense clearance. And we're going to choose the location to ensure that it's the same. Once we're done, we're just going to do a check, debit and credit matches, and we're going to click save. So a confirmation screen will be shown that the transaction has been saved. If we go to the main dashboard, you'll be able to see a journal entry. Now going to show how we can do a similar feature but entering a memory so that James don't have to repeat the process over and over again at the same time every month. So if you may notice that we're going through the same form as a manual journal entry, but at the end of the process we will add another feature whereby James will be able to repeat it at will. So what I'm going to do is to enter a code for cash savings. Click OK over here. We're going to do a simple journal entry for payroll in this case. I've entered the source, which is in this case the savings. I'm going to enter the payroll code to ensure that both debit and credit are similar. Now payroll is a simple example of a journal entry that is being done month by month. What we're going to do for this particular journal entry is to create an automated process so that James can be able to re-enter it again and again every month without re-entering the same information over and over again. Hence, this particular feature will help James to save time and also allow him to focus on other important tasks as a financial controller. So I've got my form set up here. I've clicked and save. The standard, if you can recall, the confirmation that the journal entry has been completed. One single extra step is that I'm just going to click this particular button. It is now saved. There's a feature where I can click at the bottom called memorize. We're going to rename the memory or memorize transaction as a memorize monthly journal entry for payroll. There's a few features that we can do it. We can do it yearly, or in this case, we're going to do it monthly. I'm going to select today's date as an example and ensure that it's remained forever until I stopped and removed this feature. I'm just going to click save. Once the transaction is complete, you will notice that there's a few options. I've done 2 samples there. I'm just going to choose one. I'm going to show you an example where James can access this from the financial dashboard. As a reminder, I'm just going to click refresh, and you can see the memory payroll transaction is due today. Simple example where Netsuite can add a feature. There will be an alert of a particular transaction that can be done month by month without any repeat of a data entry. I'm going to show now how James can create a multiple or a inputting a data of journal entry for example CSV or Excel into Netsuite. Just by clicking that particular button, it will take us into a file uploader or import assistant form. As I mentioned, we can scan or upload a CSV files or types of particular transaction like a chart of accounts. In this case, we would like to look at an expense category. We'll select the type of form or the type of transaction that we're gonna import, and by clicking next, and be able to upload the file. Next, we're going to show how James will be able to form an allocation schedule as part of his role as a financial controller. In one of the navigation portlets, James can go to this shortcut and directly go to the allocation schedules. Basically, here is a view a list of types of reports that he can run and schedule. I'm just going to click view, and there is an allocation destination. Basically, allocations in NetSuite gives James the ability to allocate costs by GL account, class, department, or location. James can choose weight by dollar or percentage, and can even set up a recurring allocation schedule within the system. So we're going to choose the US rent allocation by department as an example. It automatically goes directly to the respective department. There's respective weight. Next, I'm going to show how James will be able to perform amortization schedule. It's basically to generate for purchase transaction containing items or expenses lines that have associated amortization templates. Each schedule indicates the posting periods in which expenses should be recognized and the amount to be recognized in each period. Here we're going to view a complete annual prepaid insurance. You can see each schedule determine the journal entries that need to be generated to record the impact of purchase or an expenses. For each posting period in NetSuite provides a list of journals entries required to recognize expenses. For our next item, we're going to look at currency exchange. As part of the clicking reportlets, the exchange rates is available preset in NetSuite already, and it's being done on a live basis. You'll be able to filter any backdated foreign exchange rates that's being generated in the system. There's no requiring of any manual entry, so the financial controller such as James will be able to enjoy this feature by subscribing to NetSuite. I'm going to go back to current rate. I'm going to click refresh, and you will be seeing the current exchange rate. What I'm going to perform next is to show how James can look at an unrealized exchange rate in NetSuite. Again, by using the navigation portlets feature, James will be able to reach this particular report to look at any unrealized exchange rate gain losses. So we're going to look at one particular example of an account. First, we're going to filter, let's say, a single subsidiary for GIL. I'm going to click refresh. So the report will look at a particular customer that James will be keen to interested on. Let's say, for example, we look at AVI Consulting. Oh, sorry, we're going to go down to Witt and Anderson instead. As you can see, there's a couple of transactions that's being done recently for Witt and Anderson. I'm just going to click at this particular transaction report. You will notice there's a variance that's being shown. What James could do is that look at the multiple transactions and compare whether there is an unrealized exchange gain or loss through the particular transaction, especially if a company like GIL that has multi-national subsidiaries. So an unrealized gain will be able to impact the profitability of the customer. Next, I'm going to go to looking at a realized exchange rate gain or loss. Similar, going through the portlets, I'm going to go and choose another example of an account. You may notice, okay, let's look at AVI Consulting. There's a variance in rates, as you can see, 1.88 and then 1.97. What I'm going to do is that look at why there's this such variance on a particular date. So this is rather fixed. James can be able to use the NetSuite feature and drill down further how does this impact? As you can see, a foreign exchange loss has been identified there in the general ledger, and just by drilling down. Next, we're going to look at how James can run a fixed asset report in NetSuite. Part of the financial controller responsibility is just looking at how do we generate a report and the progress of a particular fixed asset, usually relating to machinery and furniture, office furniture, etc. So by clicking this particular report shows a list of assets under Guild International. Usually they can look at several characteristics of the asset, the accounting method, of the lifespan, what are the current net book value, any information that's required in a particular asset is consolidated in this one particular report. So what I'm going to show you here is how James can do a drill down of a particular asset, basically going through all the relevant information and conduct a asset sale or disposal directly. We can also look at the warranty period, whether, for example, if it's a machinery, James can actually look at the maintenance record or input a maintenance record. If there's a write-off or sale, all the records can be stored here. If there's an asset usage report, it can be stored here as well. And its specialty as well as characteristics of the asset, such as the income, can be stored in this particular drill down as well. We're going to go through the last feature of this segment, where James will be able to do or run a financial reconciliation or a bank reconciliation in NetSuite. Again, clicking in the navigation portlet, James just needs to go through the bank reconciliation. He'll be able to see all bank transactions that has happened in the particular date. It's a simple of clicking and checking all items. James be able to select the particular start or end date. If I click here, do a reconciliation, he'll be able to insert a particular bank statement, fresh copy of bank statement directly here, and be able to do a direct match of any outstanding payments that can be matched to an invoice. Usually this is done by the end of the month. Now that concludes our demo of the NetSuite presentation. Make sure you subscribe to this channel for more demonstration for NetSuite and other modules in NetSuite as well.